Welcome back, everyone, to another story. This one has some pretty wild twists, so make sure you stick around to the end to see how everything unfolds. Please enjoy the story. My name is Kyle. I'm 17 years old, and I go to a pretty average high school in a fairly small town. For the most part, my life had always been pretty ordinary. I had a small group of close friends, decent grades, and a family that mostly left me alone to do my own thing. The one thing that wasn't ordinary about my life, though, was my rivalry with a girl named Vanessa, and I had been rivals for as long as I could remember. It had all started back in middle school when we were both competing for the top spot in our science class. Ever since then, we had been at each other's throats, constantly trying to one-up each other in every possible way, whether it was grades, sports competitions, or even just who could get the most attention at a party. We were always competing. Vanessa was without a doubt one of the smartest and most popular girls at our school. She had long dark hair, piercing green eyes, and a personality that could either charm you or destroy you. Depending on her mood, most of the guys at our school were completely obsessed with her, but I was the one guy who saw right through her act. I knew that underneath the sweet, innocent smile she showed everyone else, there was a manipulative and calculating person who would do anything to come out on top. I had learned that the hard way over the years, and I wasn't about to fall for any of her tricks anytime soon. The whole reason I'm telling you all of this is because of something that happened a few months ago. Something that would end up changing my life in ways I never could have imagined. It all started on a normal Friday afternoon. I was walking home from school when I got a text from my friend Marcus asking if I wanted to hang out at his place that weekend. Marcus was throwing a small party on Saturday night, and he wanted me to come. I quickly agreed, thinking it would be a fun way to spend my weekend. Little did I know that this party would end up being the start of the craziest experience of my life. When Saturday night finally came around, I got ready and headed over to Marcus's house. When I arrived, I was surprised to see how many people were there. Marcus had told me it would be a small party, but there had to be at least 30 people packed into his house. I made my way through the crowd looking for Marcus and eventually found him in the kitchen. "Hey Kyle, glad you could make it, man. There's someone I want you to meet," said Marcus with a big smile on his face. I was a little confused by what he meant, but I followed him anyway. As he led me through the house, we eventually ended up in the living room, where a group of people were sitting around chatting. That's when I saw her. Vanessa was sitting on the couch talking to some of Marcus's other friends. I felt my heart sink the moment I saw her. "What is she doing here?" I asked Marcus quietly. He just shrugged and said, "Oh, come on, Kyle. You two need to get over your stupid rivalry already. It's been years. Just try to be civil for one night, okay?" I sighed deeply, but reluctantly agreed. I wasn't going to let Vanessa ruin my night. I could handle being in the same room as her for a few hours. The first hour or so of the party went by fairly smoothly. I mostly avoided Vanessa and stuck with my other friends. I was actually starting to have a pretty good time until Vanessa decided to walk over to me with a strange look on her face. "Hey Kyle, can we talk for a second?" she asked me, with an unusually sweet tone in her voice. I was immediately suspicious. "What do you want, Vanessa?" I asked her cautiously. She just smiled and said, "I've been thinking about our rivalry lately, and I think it's time we put it behind us. I brought something as a peace offering. It's a bottle of really nice cologne. I thought you might like it as a gesture of goodwill." I was completely taken aback by what she said. Vanessa had never once in all the years I had known her tried to be nice to me. This had to be some kind of trick I was about to refuse, when Marcus, who had been watching the whole exchange, walked over and said, "Come on, Kyle, just accept it. It's a nice gesture." I looked at Marcus and then back at Vanessa. She was still smiling, that suspiciously sweet smile against my better judgment. I decided to accept the bottle of cologne after all. What harm could a bottle of cologne actually do? "Fine, thanks, I guess," I said as I took the bottle from her hand. Vanessa's smile grew even wider as she handed it over. "I really hope you enjoy it, Kyle. It's a very special formula. I picked out just for you," she said before walking away. I looked down at the bottle in my hand. It was a small dark glass bottle, with an ornate label written in some kind of fancy script that I couldn't really read. It looked expensive. I have to admit, maybe Vanessa really was trying to bury the hatchet. I decided to just put the bottle in my pocket and forget about it for the rest of the party. The rest of the night went by without any more strange encounters with Vanessa. I actually ended up having a pretty good time at the party by the end of the night. I had almost forgotten about the whole cologne situation when I finally got home. I was pretty tired, so I just changed into my pajamas and went straight to bed. The bottle of cologne was left on my dresser, completely forgotten the next morning. I woke up feeling refreshed and ready to start my Sunday. I had a lot of homework to catch up on, so I was planning to spend most of the day at my desk before I started, though I decided I would take a shower and get dressed. As I was getting ready in my room, my eyes landed on the bottle of cologne sitting on my dresser. I picked it up and examined it more closely in the morning light. It really did look like a nice bottle. Maybe I was being too paranoid about Vanessa. Maybe she really was trying to be nice for once. I decided to give the cologne a try. I unscrewed the cap and took a small sniff. Surprisingly, it actually smelled really nice. It had a pleasant flowery scent with just a hint of something sweet underneath. It wasn't the typical masculine scent I usually went for, but I actually kind of liked it against my better judgment. I decided to apply some to my neck and wrists just to see how it smelled on my skin the moment the cologne touched my skin. I felt a strange tingling sensation start to spread across my body. At first it was just a small feeling, but it quickly grew stronger and stronger. What the hell is happening? I said to myself as the tingling started to become overwhelming. I dropped the bottle onto my dresser and looked at myself in the mirror. What I saw made my heart stop. My body was starting to change. My shoulders were slowly getting narrower, and my chest was beginning to swell out. I watched in horror as my hair started to grow longer and lighter, changing from my usual short brown hair into long flowing blonde waves that cascaded down past my shoulders. My face was changing too. My features were becoming softer and more feminine. My jawline was getting more delicate. My lips were becoming fuller, and my eyelashes were getting longer and darker. I could feel my whole body shifting and shrinking. I was getting shorter, and my hips were widening out. My waist was slimming down, and I could feel my hands becoming smaller and more delicate. This can't be happening. This can't be real, I said in a panicked voice that was slowly becoming higher and more feminine. With each passing second, I tried to move, but I felt frozen in place. All I could do was watch as my body continued to transform in front of the mirror. After what felt like an eternity, but was probably only a couple of minutes, the changes finally stopped. I was left standing in front of the mirror, completely stunned by what I was seeing. Staring back at me was a girl. She had to be about my age, maybe a little younger. She had long blonde hair that reached down to the middle of her back, beautiful blue eyes, and a face that could only be described as gorgeous. Her body was slim but curvy in all the right places. Even the pajamas I had been wearing, which were now way too big, were hanging off her body loosely. I slowly reached up and touched my face. I could feel my new features under my delicate fingers. This was really me. I had somehow been turned into a girl. It took me a long time to process what had just happened. I kept touching my face and my hair, and even my new chest, just to make sure it was all real. Unfortunately, no matter how many times I checked, the reality remained the same. I was now a girl. How the hell did this happen? I said quietly to myself in my new high-pitched voice. That's when it hit me: the cologne. Vanessa had given me the cologne. It had to be some kind of magical transformation potion or something. Vanessa must have known what it would do to me. This was all a setup. I felt anger start to boil up inside me. Vanessa had really outdone herself this time. This wasn't just a normal prank. This was something else entirely. I quickly grabbed the bottle off my dresser and examined it more carefully. I noticed that there was some kind of small note attached to the bottom of the bottle that I hadn't seen before. I peeled it off and read what it said. The note was written in Vanessa's handwriting, and it said, "Dear Kyle, I hope you enjoy your new form. This cologne is a special potion I got from a very unusual source. It will change any male who wears it into a female permanently. There's no way to reverse the effects. So I hope you get comfortable being a girl. Consider this payback for years of being my rival love, Vanessa." I couldn't believe what I was reading. Vanessa had really done this to me, and she was saying there was no way to reverse it. I was going to be stuck as a girl forever. This couldn't be happening. I sat down on my bed in complete shock, trying to figure out what to do. I couldn't just stay in my room forever. Eventually, my parents were going to come check on me, and they would definitely notice that their son had somehow been replaced by a strange blonde girl. I had no idea how I was going to explain this to them, or anyone else for that matter. As I was sitting there panicking, I heard a knock at my door. "Kyle, honey, are you awake?" said my mom's voice from the other side of the door. I froze, not knowing what to do or say. If I answered, she would immediately know something was wrong. My new voice was way too high and feminine to pass for my old one. "Kyle, honey, I'm coming in." "Okay," said my mom. Before she opened the door, I quickly turned away, trying to hide my face, but it was too late. My mom had already seen me. "Oh my goodness, who are you, and where is my son?" she asked in a shocked and scared voice. I turned to face her, tears starting to well up in my new blue eyes. "Mom, it's me. It's Kyle," Something happened, I said, trying to explain. My mom just stared at me for a long moment, completely speechless. She looked me up and down, clearly trying to process what I was saying. Kyle, what happened to you? How is this even possible? She asked. Eventually, I told her everything about Vanessa, about the cologne, and about the note. As I was explaining everything, I could see my mom's expression shifting from shock to concern, and finally to anger. By the time I finished my story, my mom was clearly furious. That girl is going to hear from me first thing tomorrow morning. We're going to find a way to fix this, Kyle. I promise, she said. Pulling me into a tight hug, I appreciated her trying to comfort me, but I wasn't so sure this could be fixed. The note had specifically said the transformation was permanent for the rest of that Sunday. I mostly just stayed in my room trying to come to terms with what had happened. My mom brought me some of her old clothes to wear since none of my guy clothes fit me properly anymore. She gave me a simple pink t-shirt and a pair of shorts that had shrunk in the wash. They were still a little big on my new smaller frame, but at least they weren't falling off. Putting on the girl clothes was a really strange experience for me. The fabric felt different against my new sensitive skin, and I could feel my new hair brushing against my shoulders every time I moved. It was going to take some serious getting used to. My mom also helped me sort through what I would tell my dad and my younger brother. When they got home from their trip that afternoon, we decided we would just tell them the truth. There was no way to hide what had happened when my dad and brother finally got home. The reactions were exactly what I expected. My dad was shocked and confused, just like my mom had been, but he was also incredibly supportive. He promised he would help me get through this, no matter what. My younger brother, on the other hand, thought the whole thing was hilarious. He kept making jokes about how he now had a big sister instead of a big brother. I couldn't really blame him for finding the humor in the situation. It was pretty absurd. That night, after my family had all gone to bed, I laid in my bed thinking about everything that had happened. I still couldn't believe I was really a girl now. As I was laying there, I noticed something strange starting to happen. My thoughts were becoming different. Somehow I was thinking about things I would have never normally thought about. I was thinking about how soft my new hair felt against my pillow and how nice the pink t-shirt looked on me. I was even thinking about what makeup would look good with my new eye color. It was like there were new feminine thoughts slowly seeping into my brain. I tried to push them away, but they just kept coming back stronger each time. It was like my brain was slowly being rewired to think like a girl. By the time I finally fell asleep, I was starting to wonder if the physical changes weren't the only thing the cologne had done to me. Maybe it was slowly changing my mind too. When I woke up the next morning, I felt different somehow. The strange feminine thoughts I had been having the night before were even stronger now. As I got out of bed, I noticed that I didn't feel quite as awkward in my new body anymore. I actually moved with a kind of natural grace that I definitely didn't have as a guy. When I got to the bathroom, I found myself examining my face in the mirror, not with horror like the day before, but with a strange kind of curiosity. I actually noticed things about my appearance that I never would have paid attention to as a guy. Like how my eyelashes really did frame my eyes beautifully, or how my new lips had a naturally pretty pink color to them. I quickly shook myself out of that train of thought. This wasn't me. These weren't my thoughts. Something was clearly still happening to me. After I finished getting ready, I went downstairs to have breakfast with my family. My mom had already made a plan for me to skip school that day, so we could go talk to Vanessa's family and try to figure out how to reverse what had happened. I agreed to the plan, but part of me was actually feeling nervous about confronting Vanessa when we got in the car and started driving toward Vanessa's house. I started to feel really strange again. The feminine thoughts were getting even stronger. Now I was thinking about how I really wished I had put on some lip gloss before we left, and how my new outfit really needed a nice pair of earrings to complete the look. I kept trying to push these thoughts away, but they just kept coming back. When we finally arrived at Vanessa's house, my mom knocked loudly on the door after a few seconds. Vanessa herself opened the door. She was clearly shocked to see me standing there in my new form. "Kyle, oh my God, what are you doing here? You look," she started to say, but my mom cut her off. "You know exactly what she looks like. You did this to my son, and you're going to help us reverse it right now," said my mom in a very firm tone. Vanessa looked like she wanted to argue, but she could see how serious my mom was, so she reluctantly invited us inside. As we walked into the house, I noticed Vanessa keep glancing over at me. She had a very strange look on her face. I couldn't quite figure out what it was. Maybe some kind of mix of guilt and satisfaction. We all sat down in her living room, and my mom started demanding answers. "Okay," Vanessa started explaining. "Where did you get that cologne, and how do we reverse the effects?" said my mom. Vanessa took a deep breath and started to explain everything. She told us that she had gotten the cologne from a strange old woman who ran an antique shop downtown. The woman had claimed that the cologne was made from an ancient recipe that could permanently transform any male who wore it into a female. Vanessa had been skeptical at first, but she had bought the bottle anyway, just in case it actually worked. She had been planning to use it on me for months, waiting for the perfect opportunity to give it to me. The party had been that opportunity. "So, how do we reverse the effects?" asked my mom impatiently. Vanessa looked down at her feet, clearly reluctant to answer. "That's the thing," the old woman said. "There is no way to reverse the effects. The transformation is permanent." "I'm sorry," said Vanessa quietly. I could see my mom's face turning red with anger. She was about to start yelling when I put my hand on her arm to stop her surprising myself. "Mom, it's okay," I said, in my new soft feminine voice. "Let's not make this worse by causing a scene. We can figure out what to do from here." My mom was clearly surprised by my calm reaction, but she reluctantly agreed we didn't get anywhere else with Vanessa. So we eventually left her house and started driving back home the whole ride home. I was thinking about everything Vanessa had said. If there was really no way to reverse the transformation, then I was going to have to figure out how to live my life as a girl. The strange thing was, as I thought about it more, the idea didn't seem as terrifying as it had the day before. There was actually a small part of me that was almost okay with it, maybe even a little bit curious about what my new life would be like. I quickly pushed that thought away, though. I couldn't let myself think like that. I had to stay strong and figure out how to fix this somehow. Over the next few days, my life turned completely upside down. My parents made the decision to homeschool me for a while until we could figure out a permanent solution. I couldn't just show up at school as a girl and expect everyone to believe I was still Kyle. We would need to come up with a whole new identity for me. Eventually, my mom took me shopping for some new clothes that actually fit me properly. It was such a strange experience for me, walking around the mall as a girl. For the first time, I could feel other people, especially guys, looking at me as I walked past them. It was extremely uncomfortable at first, but I actually started getting used to it surprisingly quickly. By the end of the shopping trip, my mom had bought me a whole new wardrobe full of dresses, skirts, tops, jeans, and even some cute pajamas. I had also picked out some accessories like necklaces, bracelets, and earrings. I even got my ears pierced at the mall, something I never thought I would do. The strangest part was that I was actually starting to enjoy the shopping trip. I found myself getting genuinely excited about certain outfits and thinking about how cute I would look in them. I kept trying to remind myself that this wasn't me. But the feminine thoughts and feelings just kept getting stronger and stronger. With each passing day, it was like my old male mind was slowly being replaced with a new female one, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. About a week after the transformation, my mom decided it was time to help me start building my new identity. We needed to come up with a new name for me and figure out what my story was going to be. As we sat at the kitchen table trying to think of names, I found myself gravitating toward one name in particular, Ashley. For some reason, that name just felt right to me. It felt like it fit my new appearance perfectly. My mom seemed to agree. And so Ashley, it was. We also decided that Ashley would be a cousin of the family who had come to stay with us for a while. It wasn't a perfect story, but it was the best we could come up with on short notice. Once we had my new identity sorted out, we started introducing me to the extended family and some of my parents' close friends. Everyone was pretty shocked at first, but they all eventually accepted the story after some explanations from my mom. The harder part was going to be figuring out what to do about my old friends. I couldn't just disappear from their lives without any explanation. My mom and dad ended up telling everyone that Kyle had decided to go live with some relatives out of state for a while to help take care of a sick grandparent. It was a pretty flimsy excuse, but it seemed to work for the most part. As the weeks went by, I slowly started to settle into my new life as Ashley. The feminine thoughts and feelings that had been so strange and unsettling at first were now becoming completely normal to me. I was starting to think and act like a girl, without even having to try anymore. My mom even started helping me learn how to do things like put on makeup style, my hair, and walk properly in heels. At first I had resisted learning these things because they felt too feminine, but eventually I gave in and let my mom teach me. It was actually really nice bonding with my mom in this way. We had never been particularly close before, but now we were spending hours together every day doing girly things and just talking about life. About a month after the transformation, my mom decided it was time for me to try going out in public. More often, we had been mostly staying home because I was still self-conscious about being seen as a girl, but my mom said I needed to get out and start living my life again. The first time we went out shopping, just the two of us without any of my family. With us, I was really nervous, but as we walked through the mall, I actually started to enjoy myself. I felt like I fit in with all the other girls and women walking around. I even got compliments from some of the store employees on my outfit and my hair. It felt really nice being acknowledged as an attractive girl. I was starting to realize that maybe being a girl wasn't as bad as I had originally thought. Then, about 6 weeks after the transformation, something happened that really changed things for me. My mom and I were at a coffee shop when a really cute guy came up to us. He introduced himself as Jake, and he asked if he could buy me a coffee. I was completely caught off guard. I had never been hit on before, at least not as a girl. I looked over at my mom, and she just smiled and nodded. So I said yes. Jake and I ended up sitting together at the coffee shop for over an hour, just talking about various things. He was really nice and funny, and I found myself actually enjoying his company. By the end of our conversation, Jake had asked for my phone number. I gave it to him, and he promised to call me later that week. When my mom and I left the coffee shop, I was practically floating on air. I couldn't believe how much I had enjoyed my conversation with Jake. He was so charming, and he had really made me feel special, Jake, and I ended up going on our first date. A few days later, he took me to a nice restaurant, and then we went for a walk in the park afterward. It was probably the most romantic evening of my life. I had never really been on a proper date before, even as a guy. After that first date, Jake and I started seeing each other regularly within a month. We were officially dating, and I couldn't have been happier. Being with Jake felt so natural and right. I completely forgot that I had ever been a guy named Kyle. I was just Ashley now, and I was in love by the time 3 months had passed since the transformation. My old life as Kyle felt like a distant dream. I honestly couldn't remember what it had been like being a guy anymore. All I knew was my life as Ashley. I was happier than I had ever been. Before, I had a wonderful boyfriend, a great relationship with my mom, and I was actually looking forward to starting at a new school in the fall. As a girl, the crazy thing was that Vanessa's attempt at revenge had actually ended up giving me the best life I could have asked for. I sometimes wondered if I should thank her for what she did, but then I remembered that she had been trying to hurt me, not help me. Looking back now, I realized that the cologne didn't just change my body, it changed everything about me, and honestly I'm glad it did. The old Kyle would have never been this happy, and I couldn't imagine going back to that life. Even if I could. I'm Ashley now, and this is who I was always meant to be. I still see Vanessa around town. Sometimes she looks at me with the same confused expression every time, as if she can't believe her plan for revenge ended up creating something so beautiful. The truth is, neither can I, but I'm not going to question it. I'm just going to enjoy the wonderful new life I've been given and thank whatever cosmic force decided to make it happen. Thanks for watching this video. More videos will be coming very soon. We would really appreciate it if you would like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.